What is happening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our Mazda Protege build. So this video is going to be just voiceovered. The audio got corrupted on my files, but we're going to be taking a look at a cooling system today. Now we've been fighting some leaks up here at our radiator, mostly from our cap. So I went ahead and swapped the cap out, but as you can see down in here, there is some damage on the ceiling portion for our cap itself, and what that's doing is it's actually reducing our boiling point and causing it to overflow from the catch. So we need to take a look at it. You can also see there, looks like we're starting to get some seepage, and it's just not going to be good. Some spots on the side here too where the metal meets. So we're going to get it swapped out with this brand new aluminum unit. This is from Spawon, I believe, and great looking radiator for the price. Picked it up for a little bit under $200, and it did come with the fan and cooling shroud. Overall, pretty impressed with the radiator itself. Seems like a pretty great construction. I did pressure test it just with some water, and it held up just fine. So I am pretty confident putting this in there. Pretty cool setup. I think for the money, it's a great option. You definitely can't go wrong. Now, it does also include the fittings for your automatic transmission if you have one, and like I said, fan and a shroud. Now, the ends of these are just terminated with spades, so up to you if you want to put your factory connectors on or if you want to wire them directly. But everything else looks pretty great, so I'm looking forward to getting this in the car. Now, we also do have a thermostat gasket because we are going to do our thermostat as well. Definitely should be in there. And we're going to do some water wetter, and obviously we just have some cheaper coolant going in right now, since I know in the future we are going to be draining this to do our timing belt kit. So I'm not really too worried about what's going in. That's why we're adding that water wetter to kind of keep things a little bit cooler. So I'm going to get this thing up in the air, and I will catch you guys when we get it up on the lift and get it ready to drain. Alrighty, so now that we got it in the air, go ahead and remove your skid plate if you have one. I don't, mine was damaged, but right here you're going to find your drain for your radiator. Go ahead and turn that thing counterclockwise and you'll start to see some coolant coming out. Now ours is pretty hot, so I'm going to let it drain nice and slow for a little bit, and I'm just going to kick back and get a couple other things done. So with it draining now, we're just about finished here. Now you can also go ahead and pull your radiator cap up top if you haven't already. That'll kind of help it flow a little bit faster. But we're going to go ahead and let it do its thing, and as soon as we're done, we're going to start working up on the top side of the engine and getting this radiator out. Alrighty, so up top here, you're going to have two 10 mils. You're going to go ahead and pull those off right there, and this will just lift away from your air box. Once you get that out, you're going to go ahead and have access to your upper radiator hose now, and also your cooling fans. So what we're going to do is remove these two 10 mils on the top here, and we're going to take that fan off on the left first. So with those removed, we're going to go ahead and get this just lifted straight out. There's no hardware on the bottom, which is nice. And with that out of the way now, you have access to the lower hose. So we're going to go ahead and flip this hose up and take off this other fan, and then I'll catch you guys when we're ready to pull that radiator out and get this one test fitted in place. Alrighty, so the fans are out and we are ready to just about get this radiator out. Now what we need to do is remove this lower hose and 4 more 10 mils, get those pulled out, and we should be able to get this thing straight out of here. So we need to also get access to our thermostat housing, so we're just going to go ahead and pull our hose from our thermostat housing and get this radiator out of here. All right, and just like that, the radiator is out. Now let's take a good look at this thing, because I know it is hammered. Now it's not as bad as some of I've seen, but it is definitely not that great. And with it not being able to hold pressure, it's just not going to work for us. Couldn't run this thing for longer than 30 minutes without it leaking. So definitely going to be excited to be taking care of that. So now that we have that out of the way, we got plenty of room in here. Everything else looks pretty great. We're going to be going right here to our thermostat housing. We're going to take off those two 13 mils and have access to our thermostat. All right, and with the housing and thermostat removed, you can see it's nice and clean in here. Definitely good to see that we just have some gasket cleanup. So come over here and take a look at the housing itself. It's not too bad, a little bit dirty. thermostat, not too bad as well. Looks like it was replaced at some point recently, but we're gonna go ahead and swap it out with this motorad 180 degree thermostat. This is like an OE temp, and obviously we have our new gasket with that. So we're gonna get everything cleaned up on each side of the mating surfaces, and we should be all set to go ahead and get this thing put back in place. All right, and with our freshened up thermostat housing and our new thermostat with gasket in here and our hardware nice and torqued, we're gonna go ahead and test fit our new aluminum radiator. Now, it is important to transfer over your rubber bushings from the bottom of your previous radiator. You're gonna need them for the base of this one. All right, and the radiator is in, so I went ahead and put the top bushing brackets back in as well. And now at this point, you can either use your factory cooling fans, or you can go ahead and install your aluminum shroud and cooling fans supplied in the kit. That's exactly what we're gonna do. So we're gonna go ahead and get those put in, and then I will show them to you guys after we get them all wired up. All right, and with the fans and shroud installed, when you go to wire them up, you're gonna notice that on your passenger side, you're gonna be able to just cut and wire up your factory plug. So pretty easy, just match the colors. However, on your driver side, you're gonna notice that the connector is part of the fan, so you're gonna have to direct wire it in or put some kind of Deutsch connector or plug like I will do later. Here's a good shot of what I'm talking about. It's part of the fan. So we're gonna go ahead and get this upper radiator hose landed and get this thing full of coolant, and I'll catch you guys when we're done. Alrighty, so now we have our fill funnel going, and you can see those air bubbles coming out. We're going to let this go ahead and drain, and then we're going to go ahead and fill it up basically until we stop seeing air bubbles. Once we get done with this portion of the filling process, we're going to go ahead and fire this thing up. Obviously, we need to check to make sure there's no leaks. And when we fire it up, we're going to go ahead and turn our heat on full blast and on defrost. That's going to allow the coolant to cycle through the heater core and make sure you get all of those bubbles out of the cooling system. So we're just going to keep filling this thing up, and I will catch you guys when we have it running and when we're almost done purging the system of all that air. All right, now with the vehicle running for about 15 minutes, we're just letting things warm up. We're gonna go ahead and make sure all of our air pockets are out of the cooling system. And while we're running the vehicle, we're gonna go ahead and check for leaks. So wanna check down here at the thermostat housing to make sure that we don't have any issues, since we did just replace our thermostat and got all that old gasket out of there. And another thing you can do with your heat blowing is you can actually check to see if your cooling fans are wired up correctly. There you can see that they are going to be some pulled fans, not push fans, which is exactly what you want. Just make sure you ain't got no leaks underneath. Basically, we're just gonna let this thing warm up for probably another 15-20 minutes. Just kind of make sure all of the coolant has cycled through, and I will catch you guys when this thing is fully warmed up and we are just about ready to wrap it up. Now, obviously, you want to check inside and make sure your temp gauge is good and have your controls all set appropriately. So we will get back to you guys when this is all purged out. All right, the engine is off now, and as you notice, the coolant is a different color than when we started. That is because old coolant from the heater core or the block has now completely cycled in with our new coolant. So while we let this thing cool down, we're just kind of walking around and checking things out, make sure we don't have any other leaks, kind of looking at some other things on the exterior of the car that I want to do in the future. I know I do have a headlight restoration planned for this thing and maybe some new badges as well. So we're gonna let this thing cool down for a little bit, and then we'll get that new radiator cap back on. Alrighty, and with the cooling system all buttoned up, I went ahead and installed the air ram again that goes to our factory air box. Now, this install was super easy and definitely a much deserved cooling upgrade for this thing. I think that this was one of the easier installs, and honestly, there's plenty of room in here later on if we want to run a set of headers or even a turbo manifold. So hoping to keep this radiator around for a long time on this build process, just really kind of put it to its paces. But there are some other maintenance things we need to focus on in the future. I do have some ideas for some wheels and tires, and also some brakes we're going to be looking at soon. But for now, we're really going to focus more on the reliability. In that video where we did the valve cover gasket, you guys saw that timing belt is pretty cracked up, and we have a replacement for it. We're going to be getting in the shop in the next video and doing that timing kit, and I think just keeping this Mazda alive is going to be super fun. Once we get it all reliable, we'll end up building it into something crazy. So the next one, peace.